The question was, what do you see when you look at the fretboard?
And in this round table, we have our gracious host, Mr. Reginald Canty, who's taking notes. We also have with us, tell us your name.
Dennis Patterson.
Who's a Detroit bass player. What kind of music you play?
I play rock.
Oh, we about to talk about rock bass in a second. We also have...
Like Rich.
Oh, what kind of music you play, man?
I play everything.
Okay.
Ow.
We also have another Detroit bass player.
Turn the button off before you plug it in.
What's your name, sir?
Chuck mccants.
What kind of music you play, sir?
Gospel.
We also have a guitar player with us.
Maurice.
What kind of music you play, Mike?
Rock and roll.
Okay, so far we got rock is winning. Bruce, another Detroit bass player. What kind of music you normally play?
I play jazz and show tunes.
Okay, and we have another bass player at this round table. What's your name, sir?
Alvin Grimes.
What kind of music you play?
Rock and roll.
There was that rock word again. And we have two guys here, Cory and Mike. Cory, what kind of music you play?
Play pop music.
Popular music. And how about you, Mike?
Anything I feel like doing.
Okay, and we also have another Detroit bass player, another alumni in the BASSmint. What kind of music you play, Gordon?
I play it all.
You play it all?
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to talk about, first let's talk about the fretboard. Now, on Facebook, Mike, everybody's name is Mike. Mike Rich right here.
Everybody want to be like Mike.
He brought up a discussion about what do you see on your fretboard. You know what? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You tell us what you said.
Oh, okay. It's like, when I look at the fretboard.
What was the question?
Oh, the question was, what do you see when you look at the fretboard? So
Frets.
No, but when you start to get into the scales and stuff like that, what do you see? When I see it, it's like the scale lights up the way it's supposed to be.
It's a pattern.
I see the pattern. I was wondering, does anybody else see that?
Yeah, I see it.
You see what?
I see a pattern. It's an actual pattern. It just kind of lights up, basically. But it lights up in my head. I mean, that's why I think you can play fretless pretty well. Is like that pattern appears. So you don't need any frets to go by. It's just the dots that are there.
Yeah.
That's the problem with me playing the fretless. When you don't have anything on there, it's like, okay, I don't see anything.
You don't still see that? You don't see the
I
lines?
can show you some on my bass right now that will debunk that theory
But see, here's
completely.
Because me and Bruce, we play a lot of fretless. And matter of fact, at a gig a couple weeks ago, we were talking about this. And when I play fretless, I like Bruce. You know the patterns in your head. You know the position. I don't. It's kind of like I'm on automatic pilot.
Yep.
So if I know I'm on G and with the fretless, as you can see with the dot on the fretted bass between the frets, well, on the fretless bass you don't play there. It's because a lot of guys have the markings on their fretless bass, and when I pick up their bass, I play it. They go, "Why you put your finger there?" Because my bass doesn't have any lines on it. So I'm playing it like where Bruce would play it like an upright train of thought. When you have the lines, you have to play on the line. On a fretless bass with the lines, you have to play on the line, because if you don't play on the line, you're gonna be your intonation gonna be off.
Let us see. Do we have a fretless bass with lines on it in the house?
Oh, well, yeah.
Let me show you.
Let me see what.
This one's a little bit.
And do we have a fretless bass without lines?
No, anybody got no lines? I should remember my fretless play. But the thing is, like when Reggie. And by the way, this is a Sean bass.
Yeah, this is
A Sean May bass.
This is a Sean May bass.
Gorgeous bass,
Now,
by the way.
On this bass, if I was to play it, I wouldn't play it like my fretless doesn't have any lines on it. But on this one, I would play actually on the line. Every time I would fret, I would play actually on the line because that's where I'm gonna get my perfect intonation. Now my fretless, I'm not gonna play on that line.
All right.
Wouldn't the intonation be off?
No,
No.
because the way
The fret is bright.
the way it was weird the way it happened. Because I was talking to Ralph Armstrong about it. He goes, yeah, he says, because if you play the exact same spot on a bass that doesn't have the lines, it's going to be off. And I couldn't understand that.
The fret spread, if the frets that are not there, or the note spread is a lot bigger on a upright than it is on
Exactly.
a regular bass.
Yeah, and
So-
upright. But
saying
for
the
fretless
tolerance
basses, no, they're not.
No, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It's
The
just
The
upright.
scale length is the same as
Yeah.
the fretted.
But he showed it to me. He played a note, and then he played a note on one with the line in it. It was different. I couldn't understand it. I had to hear it to comprehend it. And so now, like with Bruce or Ralph and other guys, when I pick up my fretless, I don't even look at the board. If I know what I know what key is in, so I know where my hand should be when I start off. But I'm not looking at the neck. Now I start getting up here and start getting silly and stuff. Well, then I'm kind of looking down, so I won't scruff stuff up. I'm kind of looking, or I'm trying to play double stops or whatever it is. I'm looking. Like there's one song I do a lot of tenths on the fretless, so I'm looking. So I make sure I got these in. Now on the fretted bass,
Yeah, I looked at it.
I don't look at it either. It's kind of like an automatic pilot, and like Bruce said, you see patterns. I mean, we always playing so long that you say a song and you kind of automatically see the pattern in your head, how your hand is gonna go.
Yep.
So if somebody say play Freddie's Dead, I almost automatically know how my hands got to move to play Freddie's Dead. Or what's the song? You got me now. You know your hands got to go. You almost, so you don't even have to look at the bass. You get to what key, it's a key D, so you got it like that. See, I'm already, I didn't look at it. Boom. So he's like, so just me personally, I don't even look at it. It's just like automatic.
So you don't have to see it, okay?
I don't have to.
Right.
I'm getting it, but I don't know if you can see this, but I'm having a modification done to this one. It's got lines on it. You can hardly see them because they're not really fret. They're veneers. They're wood veneers. And y'all can see them from this perspective, but if when the right kind of light, they disappear.
Yeah, disappear.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this binding, if you're used to looking at a fretboard, Sean designed this binding on the top to look just like a fretboard when you're looking at it from the playing position.
Right.
Yeah,
See, you see what I'm saying?
You lost with that. I got lights on the
You
side.
understand? This looks just like a fretboard when you're looking.
Yeah.
Right.
See, that's
Down
what I
at
would
it.
see. That's what I see.
And that's not where you playing at all.
No,
No.
these are just to give me points of reference.
Yep.
But this is where I play.
And where you really find
Between the
out.
dots.
Yeah.
Yeah, and where you really find
Right
out.
on the line, I gotta play with just enough meat because I gotta consider the thickness of the string. The
Right.
string has to be free to vibrate from that point on. Now to be easy, you can be a little bit off on a thinner string and be a little bit in front of the line and still be cool. But on a thicker string, it's gonna show
So
up.
what are you seeing when you, besides the lights you just cut on, what do you see on your fretboard?
I see the same. It's visually, this is the same thing as a fretted board.
Okay. So you see patterns, shapes,
I see the same
circles.
patterns and shapes that I would see if I was playing a fretted bass.
And the
Okay.
weird thing is, if you're on a stage and also the lights are flashing around and you're playing a fretless and you look down, you can see your position markers, like they're not lit, but you see them, and all of a sudden the lights change, and all of a sudden there's no lights for a couple seconds, and you're jumping around, and you're trying to play this line on a fretless, and you gotta really listen to where you're at and know your kind of your
Hand position.
the hand position,
Position.
where also because the lights are going, and then it's like you said, on that bass, or even on one without lines, if a certain light hits it, it's just like a blank. you don't see anything. And so all of a sudden you figure like, okay, because even sometimes with this thing, the light hit a certain way, you're like, whoa, and you're like, whoa, you know, and you try to hurry up and figure out where you're at. So
Okay, well, anybody else have an opinion about what they see when they play the fretboard? Corey, Mike?
Patterns too.
Well, it's like orientation too.
Developing something.
When I was talking to Mike about it, he was talking about how do you orientate yourself when you're playing. I just see three positions that are
I can't help me out.
Okay.
Let me
I see three positions.
let me get a in case somebody want to learn this. Let me.
Okay.
oh yeah, flip
Can you
around.
relocate? In other words,
Okay.
so I can see
I
it.
see three positions that help me when this is just what Plisco took me through. And the first position when you're on a 4-string bass, your first finger, that's the first position. It's not open. That's your first position. And so you're covering everything on a 4-string all the way up to A flat.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
Second position, you're starting at A and you're covering
There you go.
everything up to C.
Yep.
The next one, you're covering all the way through to A, and the rest of it is just a repeat of what you did.
Right.
You study these positions one at a time,
Exactly.
know everything across
right.
that's under your finger. Then the only thing you have to
Vertical and
check
horizontal.
is where you place your hand. After that, you're studying of the position. You should know exactly what's under your hand without looking at it.
Right.
I got you. It's like the typewriter theory.
Right.
If you got your finger set to a thing, you know where to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Without looking. With that, so that was kind of when you said.
Well, I see Gary
like
Willis
upright.
play some real intricate pieces, and never looked at. He played Fred. Never looked at his bass.
Right. So
When
when
I
you
watch his hand, he plays in position when he plays, and that's the only way would they be able to do it.
so when you say what do you see, you're not necessarily meaning as you look at the fretboard. You mean
How you
Even if-
visualize
How do you perceive it?
yeah.
That's what I'm
Not-
asking.
Not
So you
not
just gave me a perspective.
yeah.
Right
Not so much
Yeah.
looking at the fretboard like most people
Yeah,
do.
he says he's got 3 positions, so he's already knows there. He's going like
Right.
this.
those three
Same thing with
positions
you.
will
You
cover
already
the
know.
first
You
12.
already know. You probably got. I don't know where you start at, but you've already got it down.
Well, on the fretless, I always use this as my nut. This is the nut here. As I move along the fretless, this is you. If you ever see me play fretless, this hand, the fingers are always gonna be here. So no matter what I'm doing, this is my nut.
That's the position marker.
The position right
You're
now.
playing in position.
Yep.
That's
So
what it is.
as I'm going, this thing I do fingering with this finger, but it's always kind of like the anchor, if you want to say, right? Bruce?
Right.
You
That's
know,
your
like
tone
that.
center.
Yeah, and so my hand's always here. Now with this thing, it's not the same thing. But yeah, I always kind of, because somebody asked me at a gig, man, why did you kind of like almost like dragging my finger? And I said, well, I'm not dragging it. It's just this is when I look. If I have to look down, I'm right in the middle of something. I have to look down. I see that there. I know all this has to be. When I see that right there, so
But
I'm a retard. So
how about you, Maurice, as a guitar player? What do you see on your fretboard?
Yeah, I see patterns the same way when I look at the guitar. When I play the guitar, I feel the patterns actually.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Cause you be flying, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I feel the patterns and the rhythm of it all. It's really important.
and another thing with guitar players, what I usually do, if I'm playing, and he may be playing a chord, and I see what he's playing. Automatically, I'm not going to look at my bass because I see the pattern of the A minor 7 he's playing. I see that, okay, he's playing A minor. So I look at it and recognize it. I go, okay, so the pattern I'm thinking about, because I look at Jake, he's playing something. I go, oh, he's playing this thing. And I start playing that pattern because I'm just going off with it. But I'm looking at what it is on my bass. Sometimes it works and sometimes it don't.
with me personally, what I see is
No, you didn't do this.
yes I did. I have to. What I see is I see shapes. And it's more like a dance to me. It's like a choreography. What I see my fingers having to do certain steps in a choreography across the fretboard, and I call them shapes. It could very well be the same thing everybody else is saying, patterns.
Muscle memory.
Yeah.
But
and
I
shapes.
I call them shapes, and I don't have to look either.
Let me see.
No, because you're gonna start asking me questions.
I ain't gonna
You've been trying to interview me. But
showed up.
yeah. I see shapes, so Is my face on there, Corey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I see shapes. That's what I see. I see choreography. I see dance moves. From just imagine learning how to taking dance lessons, and you have to take your foot here and do that. That's what I see. I hear something, and first thing I've did it so many times. I've been playing for 40 years. So anything I hear, I've already heard before. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even if I have to break it down as little as just 2 notes at a time, because somebody flying, you know, I don't listen to that whole thing at one time and get a shape from it. I'll take it just the first 4 notes of that. And I've heard those intervals so many times, it presents a choreography, a dance,
Well,
a
I
dance
see what
step.
you're talking about, because remember when we went to go over there and Giovanni started playing? The solo that you put up, Giovanni was just like, he was going at it like this, like it was automatic.
Right.
And I was like, wow, how does he know?
Now that's during the solo. Now during the solo, I'm still in the weak stages of improvisation, which one day I hope we have a round table on improvisation, because I'm pretty weak on that. I use standards, but so I have to look at the fretboard then. It ain't dancing no more. It's like
That slowed down to crawl like
something else is going on. But you can tell when somebody know what they're doing, because they be just going through the motions. But that's what I see, man. Any more comments about fretboard and what you see? Anybody? As a rock bass player, what do you see?
Yeah, same kind of thing. I'll see the patterns, and like he was referencing with seeing the lights. My lights tend to flicker at points because I got weak spots.
Right.
So, but I just have to keep working at it. But
I think everybody got their own way of visualizing, but it all come out to the same thing.
Yeah.
Right, and
Some
sometimes
people have a method, they process it a little bit quicker than they do it the other way, and that's the way they choose to do it. Ain't right or wrong, no way is right or wrong. If it worked for you, that's what works.
exactly, and sometimes it's hard to describe in words. Music is sometimes hard to put in words what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? It ain't enough words.
You know, if you like what Bruce was talking about, if you want to be a polished pit musician, you're gonna have to get away from visualizing your fingerboard.
Oh yeah.
Because you got to look at the paper and the conductor.
Oh,
That's
God.
it.
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm looking at the paper. One half of my eyeball is looking at the conductor because he is
And
giving me hits.
You gotta be able to read a couple of bars ahead
Yeah.
of what you're playing.
Yep.
How you gonna know what's coming up next?
Yep.
Right.
And what a lot of
Especially
people
if you got a
realize
cut time
is
section coming up, you
that
gotta
in
know
most
where you
music,
There's a couple times I have to cheat, and then when I do, it's like, where the hell did it go?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
because in a lot of written music, the form is going to be the form throughout the song.
Right.
So once you get the first couple of measures done, to the first verse or two, then you know you're going to go back to the top.
A, B,
So
four.
then that's where the improvisation comes in, when you kind of get a little liberty to play something else, because you know what you already play is going to be the same thing again. So I can sneak a couple of things in there. But like in Bruce's case, well, you can't, because the guy's hearing every note you're playing.
Oh, he does.
But
if it's real music.
right, if it's
yeah.
real thing, you
Like
can't.
that, yeah.
But if it's something that's a little
To
open,
slide from the
you can
same
kinda-
fret each time.
do a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, now, all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes we like to do pure round tables, not interviewing any bass players, but we still in the basement. That's BASSMINT. Basement is provided by our gracious host, and sometimes we do just straight up round table, and we just discuss different things. And the subject we're going to be discussing today is about the Facebook page called Detroit Bass Players, founded by Craig Sconey, and the page is are you a member of that page?
yes.
Reggie?
No, somebody's gonna have to hook me up. Somebody's gonna have to hook me up tonight.
Not only is you a member of the page, you're also an administrator. Chuck, you on there? Yep. I see you got on one of Craig's shirts. Maurice, not so much, he's a guitar player, but you welcome, bro. Bruce,
Yeah.
Alvin, I know.
Yeah, I'm on there.
Cory, I know.
You know it.
Mike, and I know y'all on there. Now the Facebook, Detroit Bass Players on Facebook, y'all need to check it out. It's a great page. Reg, we like up to 975. I think.
Really?
I mean, only 20 more members, they'll reach 1,000.
That's not right.
It's like a growing page, and it's something special, man. The Facebook page is something special that somehow the bass players just gravitated to. I'm talking about from the young bucks to the heavy hitters, and if I name some of the heavy hitters, we got like Ralphie, Kern Brantley, Al Turner, Mike Harrington. I mean, I'm talking about current big dogs, and they don't get no bigger than Kern. He's a member on there. And then, of course, some of us heavy hitters in here, you know, we got Gordon. Mike used to be a heavy hitter. I used to be a heavy hitter a long time ago. I even used to be a rapper. And Reg. So we not only do we love bass, we know bass, and we all members of this page called Detroit Bass Players on Facebook.
All play. I mean, anybody who know me well, know anytime you come and see me at a show, either with the Brothers or Enemy Squad or with Sal, anybody I'm playing with, you'll go from Metallica to Al Jarreau within a song sometimes. So the perception, and, you know, and unfortunately, with Bass Player Magazine, all these other magazines, a lot of stuff you see on YouTube, is mostly because a lot of rock guys aren't very flamboyant, you know. But anyway, but you just, you know, you kind of you're doing your 8 notes, you know, you're just hitting like 8 notes. Well, that's a groove in itself, because a lot of people, you get guys who play a lot of funk and jazz who are all over the fretboard and stuff, they may not think that's a groove, but it is a groove, because one of the hardest things to do, Dennis will tell you, is sit up there and hit 8 notes for a whole song and make somebody feel it. Yeah. And everybody else is jumping around looking cool. You sitting there going, you trying to make faces. You know, the thing is with rock music, and the people think that rock music is simple. Rock music isn't that simple, because if you take a line from a band called Grand Funk Railroad, a song called Paranoid, I mean, you think about bass playing in the 70s and the 60s. That's a bass line from Grand Funk Railroad. And then he goes, and he does this stuff, and I mean, and they're playing that at breakneck speed. Yeah. So it's nothing too slight. I know everybody want to go, oh, and all that crap. That's fine too. But it's just music.
You personally, as a member of the Facebook page, your love for music runs the whole A to Z.
And most of the cats on the bass page, out of the 900 some, I probably know 800 of them probably. And most of those guys play all styles of music. Yep. I mean, when you listen to music, I mean, I just the ideology of just listening to one genre of music is like crazy to me, because I hear guys who play rock, like we were talking about the bass player for Metallica now, Robert Trujillo. He used to play in a band called Infectious Grooves. Now you talking about funk stuff? Go to YouTube and watch Infectious Grooves or Suicidal Tendencies.
Oh yeah.
And it's a bass player that used to play in Night Ranger. Let's date myself. He used to play in a band called Rubicon. Rubicon was excuse my language, a white version of Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah, it's Jerry Martini.
Exactly. You go to YouTube and pull up some of that stuff from Rubicon, and you think you listen to Larry Graham, which is the bass player for Night Ranger. What's his name? I can't think of his real name. But this guy, and so just the thought. I mean, now with the modern age, and with you know, a lot of the hip hop and stuff more in the forefront. Well, everybody don't get a chance to see all these other bass players. Now, unfortunately for me, or fortunately for me, I'm old enough where I've seen the guys in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, all these different bass players. So somebody throw a name out there, oh yeah, I remember that cat. But guys, these guys' age, unless they did their homework, they're not going to know, you know, Hair by Larry Graham. Or they're not going to know that Noel Redding played guitar on 2 or 3 Jimi Hendrix records. or they're not gonna know that Jimmy played bass on a lot of that stuff.
Yes.
And with Jimmy playing bass, you could tell when Jimmy's playing bass and when Noel Redding's playing bass because the sophistication of the bass line jumps out at you.
Yeah, like on 1983, A Merman I Should Be.
Exactly.
That's Jimmy on bass.
Or if you listen to the Band of Gypsies versus the Experience.
Right, Billy Collins.
There you go. You got the two differences. You have a rock bass player predominantly. Then you have a guy who played R&B and chitlin circuit music. So that's why everybody gravitated to the Band of Gypsies because it's so much funkier. Billy Cox and Buddy Miles, they're playing all this kind of funky stuff. So Jimmy's playing went to another whole level. But when he played with Experience, it was more of a rock organic thing, which both of them, I love both of them. But when when guys started posting stuff, and everybody had to understand that the bass, because I went through a little thing on the bass page too, but everybody had to realize that this whole bass page is for bass players to come together and talk about music and bass. Yeah, we could talk about political things and personal things because we talk about health issues with different people. Everybody has some kind of health issue, and so or financial issues. So if somebody get on there, hey man, I need a gig or I'm selling a piece of gear because I'm losing my house. Well, then you got 50 guys, hey man, I'll buy that piece of gear. They may not need it, but I'll buy it from you. So the thing about the bass player and all this music stuff, it's all the same music. I mean, just because Yngwie's playing it don't make it no different than Marcus playing it.
You know what the real problem is? If you play music in other countries around here, our music industry is very segmented and very reactionary.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know, you look at somebody and you automatically blah blah blah. You got a preconceived notion of what kind of music is coming out of this person.
Stereotype.
The group, Detroit bass player is together for just one function, bring people together. It ain't had nothing to do with your proficiency, had nothing to do with your genre.
Right.
Nothing to do with it. But the whole, we couldn't avoid the illusion that anytime somebody's got a gospel background or a funk background or a rap background or R&B background or jazz background, he posts something and he get a whole line of a whole thread of supplies, and somebody from rock posts something and they get hardly nothing.
What and why is that, Alvin?
Because I can remember a few times that I've posted stuff like, say, with Doug Pinnick, who I'm a serious Pinnick fan. Terry Butler from Black Sabbath, who I really cut my eye teeth on. And you might get one or two responses, and you just go, okay, I've been at this dance before. And you just stop doing it because there's not a whole lot of response to it.
Please.
I'm just saying.
I'm used to getting shot on. Man, I ain't doing much getting shot on.
But all I'm saying is, when I first started playing bass and I played rock and roll first, and it was a schism. Like you would run into guys who were playing jazz, who were playing they were into the Jamerson thing. So I'm breaking out playing Pappalardi, Jack Bruce, people like that. And there was. I mean, I hate to admit it, but there was just a schism thing. It was just like being in the black community carrying Hendrix and Cream and Zeppelin. If you were smart, at least on my block, you put all that in between Four Tops and Stevie Wonder.
Or so that players or something.
Yeah, so nobody would see you walking down the street with Jefferson Airplane. Because, it'd be like, next thing you know, now you're getting harassed. They want to take your dope money and everything. Excuse me. You know what I'm saying? You had to really be careful about that. And that was so amazing. Like, I saw Jimmy in '69 in Cobo. So, it's like the whole place was packed. I must have counted 30 black people, and people were giving me a hard time because I listened to Hendrix. Then out comes Band of Gypsies, and the very cats who was standing me up by listening to that white boy stuff, now they run around talking, they don't know, and I'm like, for real?
You didn't know neither.
So I understand that. When you talk to jazz musicians, they say, what you play? And I said,
some jazz musicians are,
I'm not, they can't be. I'm just telling the truth.
And because they get all this preparation and their impression of the rock guys, that he didn't have to prepare a whole bunch to do what he does. But
right, and
there's a little bit of truth to that.
What you were saying is that, like, one of my favorite bassists, Felix Pappalardi, said something that made a whole lot of sense to me. Never play a note that you would not sing. And if you listen to Pappalardi's bass work, It's very melodic.
Yeah.
It's very simple. But when he harmonized with Leslie West, it was beautiful, man.
Yeah.
And that was because his background was cello. Dig
Yeah.
it. Never in my life. He played cello. So he approached
Right.
bass from a cello perspective. So when he would play, his harmonies were just like right there.
Mississippi Queen.
There you go. So it was when, you know, like to me, playing rock bass is sort of like riding a rhino bareback.
Right. And,
Yeah.
and,
It's a different whole
Yeah.
and,
There's
and,
an energy that has to be
Yes.
sustained.
Yeah.
around
you have to have an attitude and you have to have this energy.
Yeah.
I see that in you, Alvin, that you's a real rock guy. My story is that if I was born in these 80s, 90s thing, and while all these cats were wearing their pants half,
Right.
you know,
Half mask.
I would have went down that same road. And that's just metaphorically speaking. I was born in the 60s, but all we listened to was funk, of course Motown, funk. The only rock and roll that was seep into my limited focus was something I might have to watch these bands on Midnight Star.
Special.
Midnight Special, waiting for my boys to come on. So I would get exposure, but I ain't listen to it, and I had this belief that when I saw somebody playing with a pick,
Yep.
no disrespect, like they cheating. So you're not really playing the bass. This is my ignorance.
Right.
I'm speaking strictly from ignorance. Fast forward to 2000, and I went on tour with this classic rock band, and I had to learn all of these songs, and I hated myself for all of that wonderful music that I had missed out on when it was live, and I could have went to go see those people, because each bass line I picked up on these songs, I'm talking about Led Zeppelin,
John Paul Jones, great bass player.
who else? I can't
And
remember.
basically all of them.
Even AC/DC, we played Grand Funk.
Shaper.
We played all of the
Boston.
some didn't play Boston.
Yeah.
We played some a
Summer.
whole bunch of stuff I can't think of it now, but it's all classic rock now. Blue on Black, something else. Well, I can't think of them. But all of these wonderful bass lines that I missed out on, and these wonderful songs that I missed out on because I had on blinders.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I wish I had not put on those blinders. And now that I do these interviews and I talk to a lot of bass players, more than I've ever talked to in my life, all of these guys weren't like me. Mike didn't miss out back then on all the music. You didn't have blinders on, did
I'll
you?
tell you my story when you finish.
I'm finished.
Okay.
I was a segue.
I'm gonna say, I'm growing up way out there in Clinton Township. Ain't nothing out there with fields and cotton and stuff like that. And so, you know, we doing the Motown thing and all that stuff too. But I got with this one drummer that was such a monster. You know, he said, I'm bored, I need something else. So he said, I want you to learn this. He comes on, he puts on Rush. And I'm going, wow, you want me to do this?
Yeah.
He says, yeah, I want you to learn this. So I'll go and act, I'm learning YYZ, and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. But then he started showing me Santana. Then he started showing me, what was that, Gino Vanelli. And then he's seeing stuff like that. I'm saying, wow, this is like a bunch of flavors here. And when I went to Philadelphia, then we started to get into everything. I mean, we're doing, God, yeah, like you said, Metallica and Led Zeppelin and all that other stuff.
Pink Floyd, I forgot
Pink
about
Floyd,
that.
yeah, that too. But what blew my mind is I was there to see the Black Coalition get started.
Oh, Rock Hall.
Black
Yeah,
Rock-
yeah, I see.
I was out
Oh,
there,
my God.
and you know, they say, "Will you see these cats? This is a Living Color." I'm like, "Living Color? Who is that?"
Oh man.
Dude, I was there. We went up to New York, and I mean, it was just like a whole nother culture out there. These just like black people are playing real hard rock, and you know, they was just rocking out. And it blew my mind. And so from then on, I was able to open up and just say, "Okay, I don't care."
Right.
See, now the BRC, we were when I played in Brothers from Another Planet, Bruce, we were in the BRC, and we got into the BRC for the simple fact that the Brothers from Another Planet was all black rock band, in Detroit. We were a combination of what Hendrix did, Funkadelics did, Chili Peppers did, all these crazy bands, and we played very loud, very fast, and very aggressive, and had very political. We were like Public Enemy too. So we'll walk into a place, and Bruce Lamb, because he remember all that, we'll walk into a place and they go, "Oh, you guys playing Bell Biv DeVoe tonight?" And we're like, "No, wait to sound
We're
check."
playing Rage Against the Machine.
We're playing. And so when we met up with Vernon Reed and those guys, they started sending us out on a tour. They go, "You guys, we got to send you out on a tour." So they started sending us to different places, South by Southwest, New York, all these places and stuff. And we started meeting some of the other BRC bands. And so we sat in a lot of the dressing rooms just like this, all these different bands from Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Miami, Colorado, and everybody had the same story. Everybody had the same story about the music and how you were pigeonholed into music. And one, I would say something that probably gonna piss a lot of people off. I don't mean it, but black radio is one of the biggest problems in the music industry right now because they don't open their eyes. They got these on. So I asked the program director of WGOB, I said, "Hey, by the way, have you heard of 24/7 Spies? No. Heard of Fishbone? No. Bad Brains? No. Okay, I need to take you with me to my house to hear some of the stuff." He listens to stuff, so he goes, "Man, let me take these CDs home." So he was crazy about stuff. I go, "So when we gonna play 24/7 Spies on the, or either Mother's Finest?"
It's about business.
Ain't gonna do
He's
it.
not gonna do it.
Right.
That was
Okay, so
Yeah.
I actually want to hear from a actual rock guy. Is your listening limited to rock like mine was?
Absolutely.
You just play it. What do you listen to though?
Listen to pretty much everything from Bach to Slayer to everything in between.
You said Bach. That's some of the
Johann.
good stuff. That's some good stuff. So you ain't got blinders on either.
You can't. I don't know how people can I just listen to metal. It just doesn't translate. It's like, you know where they're getting their stuff from? Those people with nice white powdered wigs.
Right, exactly. And that's good, man. How about you, Mike?
Anything, and I listen to it for, I like a diverse use of instruments too, so I'll listen to something with a synthesizer to something with, I don't even know, trumpets if they involve that, whatever, catches my ear,
Right. Okay. So a true rock person like Alvin, you ever listen to anything else? You like rap?
I listen. I don't particularly like rap. I like hip hop. I just don't particularly like. I don't like a lot of rap. At this point, when I first started playing, I listened to primarily rock and roll. That was what I cut. It was the only thing that made my heart skip a beat. Now though, I'm trying to recapture Jamerson. I'm really listening to a lot of Jamerson stuff. I'm listening to Ron Carter. I'm listening to Willie Weeks.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, really trying to
Voices Inside is what I'm currently listening to.
Okay.
From Everything is Everything with the long bass solo.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm listening to him and God, what's the guy? Rainier, Chuck Rainier. Chuck Rainier. Yeah, I'm listening to him now, trying to pick up a lot of his stuff. So, and it's funny because it's starting to affect the way I play now. And I'm older now. Yeah, I'm writing differently. In fact, me and Maurice were talking about that. Because see, it's interesting when you were talking about Black Rock Coalition. We were out on the West Coast in L.A.
With Barbara. Beverly Miller. She's in charge of the West Coast.
Bus Boys. But see, when we started, there was no Black Rock Coalition. God, I wish there would have been. We were doing biker gigs where people called us porch monkeys and the whole bit, And I remember riots breaking out. There was no Black Rock Coalition. We were just out there alone. And then the Bus Boys broke. And then, what was it, 81, 82? 82, 83 when Public Enemy broke. Living Color. And I just kind of sat back and went, whoa. Because we were doing what Living Color was doing in 82, 83. We were doing that in 76.
Well, Bad Brains was doing it before Living Color.
We hadn't even heard of them. That's what I'm saying. They were on the East Coast. They were on the East Coast. We hadn't even heard of Bad Brains. We were thinking like, where is there somebody else? And there wasn't in our environment. There was nobody. It was totally alone. That was a strange thing. When BRC first came out, I'm like, dang, where were these guys when we needed them?
It wasn't time yet, man.
But you know, I want to say something. You mentioned how you went to the one radio station and you tried to broaden their perspective or their point of view.
Right.
Unfortunately, you mentioned rap, and because of black radio, it has degenerated to nothing.
Exactly.
And when it started out, it was some really incredible, fiery music. It had social perspective. It had political point of view. And for whatever reason, when it got into the hands of the people that are responsible for airplay, it degenerated into nothing. Some of the people that they play on the radio now shouldn't be allowed in the studio.
Right.
And some of the people that originated hip-hop and rap music in the beginning were really champions of music. Real champions of music.
Right.
But unfortunately, much of what we're talking about has been limited by the people that control the portal.
Right.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, if you look at it, man, you know, all the smooth jazz stations around here disappeared. It's really a marketing thing, because if you look at the industry itself, it has degenerated into that. But if you go around the country right now, especially if you, particularly with smooth jazz fans, and I'm not a big fan of smooth jazz. I like jazz, but smooth jazz it gets a little too homogenized.
Yeah,
for me.
the smooth jazz has become this
But if you can go to all the major markets in the United States, and you'll find a station that plays the same shit in your station, the exact same playlist.
That's because
Playlist
Clear Channel owns all of them.
Because they want to maintain the same list of
Clear Channel
sponsors.
and,
The sponsors done gave them a whole bunch of money on a conglomerate that covers the whole nation. And shit like,
And then when you factor in that your mom and pop radio stations are going, they're being devoured and devoured and devoured. In a little while, we'll only have there's maybe about 4 or 5 major companies that control all the radio stations. And hence, remember the book 1984?
Yeah.
Remember what Winston's job was to take the dictionary from being this to that thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the minute you take away the words in a person's brain, you take away their ability to think.
Yeah.
So if they can limit the music to this little narrow perspective,
That's what they've done.
you know, then they control revolution. And remember, man, I mean, musicians are prophets,
Right.
and that's our role. You know, it's been. They're not doing it. We're not. I'm not gonna say we, but a lot of people just ain't doing that no more. They're not
Musicians just
concerned
be
with it.
the spokesman for the people.
Yeah.
You know, now half these idiots can't put a sentence together, but
They don't want you to do
Right.
that. They don't want that.
But if you listen to some of the hip hop and rap and stuff, if you listen to some of the rhymes and some of the music, it's like a third grader talking.
Right.
It's like,
You know, man,
what?
Like when I grew up, the people I listened to when I was growing up were a full head older than me. You know what I'm saying? But that's where the market was. That's where the records were being sold, and that's why they survived for so long from where they were. Today, the biggest demographic group of people who are buying the most records to make are 15 to 30.
Right.
Right.
And they're not really buying records, so they
Okay,
download
and you
stuff
don't
now.
have older people.
Right.
You have contemporaries playing for the contemporaries. What kind of life lessons or political statements
They ain't
or
got it.
social media? What
They
can
don't
you
have-
say?
What can
Well,
you
they
say?
ain't got nothing to say, but
Yeah.
I can wear my shirt more
Sure.
often you can. I can show more titty than you can.
it's true.
And that's
You
what it
internet,
is.
internet, right? You
That's
internet.
what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I like to say the opinions of the guest here are
It's not type of disclaimer, right?
has nothing to do with Ivan Williams Productions or whatever.
Not the collective group of Detroit Bass Players Corporation.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what?
Right.
And
I mean,
this is
seriously,
talking about
because
the
somebody
pick. I used to play with a pick all the time.
somebody might see this and say that
One of my favorite guys.
we got to be
Oh,
let's one at a time so we can get it off. But some people gonna see this and say, might think that we're trying to be a representation of the Detroit Bass Players page when we are not representing the Detroit Bass Players page. What we are doing is expressing our own individual opinions of what we think as individuals. We not representing nobody. I'm just filming it. That's all.
We're bass players who happen to be from Detroit.
Yeah, that's it. So trying to stay on subject and wind this down quickly. Hey, Corey, you got any input?
No.
Chuck, we didn't get you any input?
No.
They the smart ones. How about you, Bruce?
I think this was very interesting. It's a wide perspective of different players and different styles, different age brackets, and different perspectives, which makes it very interesting overall, because we're all getting different twists and different spins, and that's what's really cool about this.
Okay.
I like it.
And so we're gonna let Gordon close this and see.
Gordon plays for us.
Since he's responsible for this conversation, he's responsible, folks.
What?
Gordon.
No, I'm just talking.
I gotta place blame somewhere, right?
All right, I'm gonna play it.
So to kill this conversation or to close this conversation, what would you like to say in closing about?
I just like to say that music is a very simplistic thing. It's not that difficult. People make it more difficult than it is. Everybody has. That's why you have 2 ears to listen. So everybody, most musicians hear a lot of music. Now, what they choose to absorb and retain is on them. But they hear this music, and because I know when Dennis plays, he's heard on his way to the gig, he may hear the Ohio Players. So in his head, he's like skin tight, and he's driving. So when he gets to the gig, something's going to hit him at one particular time. That's going to come back to his head. He's going to play something that may mimic that particular section of music. So it's in him. He's going to hum it later. Mike's going to hum something that he heard from his family, the Beatles, and Eleanor Rigby. All of a sudden, he may be playing something. He said, he may play that. So it's people, stop making it more than it is.
Yeah.
It's music.
We all love all types of music. The bottom line, it's everything.
Detroit bass players, listen to me. Listen to me. It's like Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's Eve, Halloween, and the 4th of July, all rolled up in one ball. And then you take that sucker, you just suck it all in and let it digest. Like a couple big White Castles in your stomach. And let the funk just roll out of you. Just let the funk roll out of you, baby.
That's a very good point, because Detroit being the size that it is,
Yes.
back in the 60s and the 70s, you could go to the East Town, you could go to the Grandy,
Yep.
you could go to Watts, Mozambique, you could
Yep.
go down to Baker's, and this is all within 20, 30 minutes. And if you was on the bus, maybe 45 minutes, and you could hear all kind of music, And as a result of that, the musicians at that time, we were exposed to a lot of stuff, man.
Yep.
And it,
Stage one.
yes, yeah, definitely stage one. How I played the stage one.
But that's not to say that the musicians today who are actually going out and that are young, like we used to be, are not getting exposed. In fact, I think they're getting more exposure than we did. It's just a different world. It's visual
YouTube.
now. Yeah.
YouTube exposed a lot of
It's a different thing. They can't do it like they used to, because first there ain't no more jobs in Detroit. You got to move to is it Montana or North Dakota now to get a job? That's where all the jobs are now.
That's Frank Zappa. He moved to Montana.
I think it's North Dakota where all the jobs.
Somebody caught that.
It's a different time now, and thanks for coming to hang out with us at the in the basement, Reggie Canty's basement, and that was our attempt at a round table. And we're gonna, if anybody has suggestions for a topic for a round table, we'll try to get it out there in advance and have somewhat appropriate bass players to talk about those subjects. Like
one thing.
Like one thing, I want to have a round table on strictly improvisation, and I want also not to have just one input on the amplifier with just one bass player. Selfish. We need a mixer. We need a mixer right here on the round table, and put some basses in there, and let's do an improv so I can learn how to solo. What you think?
Sounds like a good idea. It sounds like a good idea.
What else you'd like to say, Reggie?
Well, I noticed that a lot of people could use help in navigating and getting the most bang out of their buck as far as their page is concerned.
So you want to have a round table
Round
on?
table on your page operation, blah blah blah. And,
Now, when you say page, what page you talking
I
about?
mean, I'm talking about your personal page and the Detroit bass players page
Oh,
itself. There's a lot of people that have information that's missing off the page that could be useful to them.
And so you want to have a round table on how to.
And you'd be surprised at how many people don't know how to navigate on Facebook. You'd be
Okay,
surprised.
cool. And you can actually provide examples with your computer.
Yeah, we could do that. We could do that too.
Right. That's a great idea. Anybody that's here have a suggestion that, in case don't nobody give me suggestions, or don't anyone give me suggestions for a actual topic, a round table topic, bass topic, Dennis? Not at this time.
Not at this time.
Chuck?
Yeah, one over there. No, I was just gonna make a comment on candy.
Mike? Suggestions for Maurice, suggestions for round table?
No suggestions at this time.
I was expecting you to say, yeah, guitar. Bruce?
I think we've covered it all. It's more fun when we get together and go, oh, by the way, we'll think of something next month, right? We're doing this next month, aren't we, Rocky?
Improvisation idea.
Alvin?
No, I'll have to think about that.
Cory?
Yeah, it's still brewing.
Mike?
Yeah, it'll take some time.
Gordon?
How to make gumbo. We need to find out
I
to
can
make
show
some
you how to
good-
do that.
Some good gumbo.
I can show you how to
We
do
need
that.
the bass players not only know how to cook, they have good gumbo.
So we need to put together a bass player's cookbook.
Would that be something?
That would be funny.
Mike, any suggestions?
I got one. I mean, bass string gauges versus round,
Flat round, half
flat round.
rounds,
Just that everybody have something different. on their
recycling
bass.
strings.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so we'll look at that and we'll figure out something, man, to do it just a regular old round table. And so with that said, Gordon, just play us something out real quick.
Some little Band of Gypsies.
I'd like to thank all of our guests here at the round table. Mike, Gordon, Mike, Cory, Alvin, Bruce, Maurice, Chuck, Reggie, and Dennis, and myself, Big Eye. Talk to you guys later.